Hey, this is Nathan with Town Hall Project. I am very excited to be here with Oregon's Senator Ron Wyden here on a Friday morning at Cleveland High School in Portland, Oregon. We just finished a Listening to the Future session, which is an open meeting that he has done with students and also just awarded him our Town Hall MVP for 2018, so congratulations again.
Thank you.
I'm sure if we'd been around in years past, you'd be winning this many years in a row. But thank you for making yourself available to constituents in Oregon over and over again.
Well, thank you, Nathan. And like the Town Hall Project, what this is really all about for me is what I think government has to be all about. The alternative is for folks to just get an election certificate and then say, well, we're just not going to be part of the community, we're not going to get out there and listen, we're not going to hear what people's priorities are. And if you go back and read what the Founding Fathers had to say, that was not exactly their theory.
Cool. So we've asked you before, why you do so many town halls and why it's so important to you. One thing I'd like to ask on this occasion is, today you were meeting with high schoolers, some of whom, maybe they're old enough to vote, some of whom aren't old enough to vote. And why is it important to you to meet specifically with young people?
Well, I've been very interested in issues like technology. And when I came to the Senate, the only person who knew how to use a computer was Pat Leahy. So I had a chance to write some of the early regulatory and tax rules that helped to promote a free and open internet. And I think a free and open internet is very much consistent with what the Town Hall Project and I are trying to do, which is get more people involved, giving them new ways to be heard, and people through Facebook are going to have a chance to follow what we're talking about. And there's some urgency to it. I think a lot of Americans watched some of the recent congressional hearings on technology and Facebook and Google and the like, and a lot of people came away and said there's a pretty big learning curve back there in the United States Congress to get a sense of what the great technology challenges are. And I think when I get out and talk to students and talk about technology today, I was focused on some issues like net neutrality that helps to have students walk away and say at least somebody back there in the United States Senate is paying attention to what I think.
Great. So, you hold a lot of town hall meetings, your colleague, Senator Merkley, holds a lot of town hall meetings. In fact, the entire Oregon congressional delegation is pretty exemplary in how important it is. Another thing that is, that Oregon, in our estimation, does well is voting. Oregon has universal vote by mail, and that's something, that isn't a partisan issue. It's about making easier to vote. And that's something that's also important to you, is that correct?
That's right, and Congressman Blumenauer and I have been pushing to take Oregon's vote by mail system. We've had it for 20 years, and it's convenient, it's effective, it's not as expensive as the alternatives. We want to take it nationwide, and what we now have seen is the House of Representatives in their early legislative efforts are going to include a version of our vote by mail bill, and I think it is long overdue. Oregon's had it for 20 years. Anybody who wants to know how to do it right can just come here, as you said, to Oregon and see it in action.
Great. As we record this now, the federal government is experiencing a partial shutdown. Certainly you've been outspoken about how you feel about the issue. What would you say to Americans who are either federal employees on furlough, federal contractors, or family members? What can they do, whether they're in Oregon, whether they're elsewhere, to speak out about how it's affecting them?
First of all, I want them to know that I and certainly others in the United States Senate voted to make sure the government would be open and those folks wouldn't be left in the lurch. And by the way, there are some people that aren't even being discussed, much, the contractors that really so often end up coming up short even after it's settled, they aren't made whole. And I just got to say that you can't reopen the government with a closed mind. And the president ought to listen to the voices from Oregon and elsewhere who are saying, you've got to first deal with our priority, which is getting the government open so that when you call, the government can be responsive to our needs, and after our needs are taken care of, then there can be a discussion about what you, President Trump, want, which is law.
Gotcha. And last question, sort of more of a fun question. We hear from some of our followers, because you do so many town hall meetings, and they'll see you, on C-SPAN one day, sometimes on the floor of the Senate until fairly late in the evening, and then, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., you're in Bend holding a town hall, and they say, is this guy got a twin? Is he a magician? So, in reality, you do a lot of flying back and forth, and for many of us who might fly 4, 5, 6 times a year, the amount of flying you do must be like a pain. Are you a plane sleeper? Have you watched every single in-flight movie?
Well, first of all, without getting into all of the details about airline service, it's been a big help, the Oregon congressional delegation, that there are some nonstops, and there didn't used to be very many nonstops. So I just go out at 5 o'clock on those afternoons when I have a chance to fly home, and if there's an aisle seat and coach, that's what you really like, and I just tend to try to read those kinds of materials. They may be news articles, they may be reports that I think Oregonians are most likely to pay attention to. I don't usually do much more than that. And if it's been a long week, this is the time to get a quick nap.
Great. Well, we really appreciate how much effort you put into it, and I know Oregonians appreciate it.
Let me also say that I think what has happened in recent years, and I noticed the number of people who pledged to have town meetings. I thought it was an important thing that Town Hall did. A number of them won. Going to carry it out. That we're starting to build a kind of citizen involvement ethic, and the Town Hall project's really been important in it, and I really appreciate being singled out again. I'm going to try and live up to the compliment.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Hope you win it again next year.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Nathan.
Take care.